Before the tradition of writing down stories, people used to tell these stories out loud by word of mouth. This was considered a culture's oral tradition. Today, we're going to discuss just a few of the common forms of the traditional oral language. The first one we're going to talk about is folk tales. Folk tales came from the word of mouth and were passed on from generation to generation. These were stories that could take place anywhere, anytime, and could affect anyone. An example of this would be Little Red Riding Hood. Fairy tales are the next part that we'll talk about. These were much like folk tales, except for the fact that they contained supernatural beings such as fairies, ogres, dragons, or animals with human characteristics. A really good example of this is Shrek, because of the fact that it ties in many of the fairy tale characters from other stories. The next piece of traditional oral language is parables. These are short stories that illustrate a moral or a spiritual truth. A really good example of this would be the Christian Bible. Fables are much like parables. They involve a moral, but they have more fairy tale-like characters. This is an example of the Lion and the Mouse. Legends are another type of traditional oral literature. These seem like they're historical, but there is no evidence to actually verify that they actually happened. Robin Hood is an excellent example of this. The last piece of oral literature that we're going to discuss are myths. Myths explain how the natural world took place, how things happened. A lot of times they would use gods and goddesses because they didn't have any other way to explain how things happened, like fire or hope. Hercules is an example of this.